What if I told you that someone tried to slide back into their ex's DMs right after publicly dragging him, only to get completely, utterly, and humiliatingly ignored? And what if I told you her current boyfriend found out, flipped the script, and completely did her dirty in front of all of Hollywood? Yeah, baby. Pull up a chair and grab your popcorn, because the Lori Harvey situation just went from a messy breakup to an absolute masterclass in how not to move. The internet is currently in a literal meltdown right now. The receipts are dropping, the timelines are lining up, and honey, it is not looking good for the IT girl. Damson Idris is out here speaking his unvarnished truth, Michael B. Jordan is out here quietly winning historic awards, and Lori? Well, Lori is out here looking like she is auditioning for a dramatic reality TV role that absolutely nobody cast her in. We have watched her navigate the high-stakes world of celebrity dating for years, always coming out on top, always looking like she was the one holding all the cards. But the tables have officially turned, and the power dynamic has shifted so fast it'll give you whiplash. How did the ultimate prize of the entertainment industry find herself locked out, blocked, and publicly clowned by both her past and her present? Let's get into all of it, because the tea today is piping hot, completely unfiltered, and messy enough to ruin reputations. So, here is where we are right now, and you need to pay very close attention because this timeline is completely wild. Damson Idris, the fine British, incredibly talented man who everyone thought was completely wrapped around Lori Harvey's finger, has finally broken his silence. And honey, let me tell you, he did not come to comfort anybody or save any reputations. Apparently, the word on the street is that Lori Harvey has been thoroughly exposed behind the scenes for trying to secretly reconnect with none other than Michael B. Jordan. Yes, her ex. The exact same man she very publicly moved on from, and the exact same man she and her mother had a whole lot of slick things to say about after their relationship crashed and burned. But instead of staying quiet, staying diplomatic, and playing the part of the unbothered current boyfriend, Damson allegedly decided he was completely done playing that game. Rumor has it that he absolutely clowned her to his inner circle, mocked the entire situation, and honestly, can we even blame him? Because if the leaked reports coming out of Hollywood are even half true, this is a level of second-hand embarrassment that no man should have to sit through while being paraded around as the current partner. Now, what makes this whole situation a million times worse is how Michael B. Jordan is handling it. Michael is out here ignoring her completely, fully, and utterly, treating her like she does not even exist on the face of this earth. And while all of this high-stakes drama is unfolding right before our eyes, Lori's current relationship with Damson is showing massive, irreparable cracks. To really understand how we arrived at this absolute disaster of a timeline, we have to rewind the tape a little bit. We need to go back to the very beginning of this sudden spiral because Lori Harvey has built an entire brand around being the ultimate prize. She is the girl who never looks back, the girl who dictates the terms of every relationship, and the girl who leaves men heartbroken while she glides effortlessly to the next A-lister. But let me ask you a very real question here. If you are supposedly in a happy, committed relationship that the whole world knows about, a relationship that has been photographed by paparazzi, confirmed on Instagram, and celebrated by your fans, why on earth are you calling your ex? We are not talking about an accidental text message here, and we are not talking about a casual, friendly double tap on an Instagram picture. We are talking about a full-on voice call. According to deep industry insiders and highly placed anonymous sources, Lori Harvey reportedly still has Michael B. Jordan's private number saved in her phone. And while she was actively presenting herself to the world as Damson Idris's leading lady, she allegedly decided that picking up her phone and dialing Michael's number was a completely reasonable and logical thing to do. Now look, the streets are saying her relationship with Damson was already incredibly shaky and walking on very thin ice behind closed doors. There have been whispers for months that the initial honeymoon phase had completely worn off, and that they were staying together mostly for the aesthetic and the mutual public relations benefits. But then this alleged calling scandal hits the Hollywood grapevine, and it completely shatters the illusion. People close to the situation are saying this specific incident might be the final, ultimate push that makes Damson say he is completely done with the relationship. And honestly, based on the explosive investigative details that are starting to surface, he might have seen this exact type of behavior coming from a whole mile away. Let us break down where this timeline gets incredibly interesting and frankly a bit hilarious. Michael B. Jordan recently hit an absolute pinnacle in his career, winning a massive, highly prestigious award and solidifying his spot as one of the elite actors in the entire industry. It was a massive moment where the entire internet went absolutely crazy celebrating his talent, his dedication, and his undeniable success. People were sending him congratulations from every single corner of the globe, including his Hollywood colleagues, his massive fan base, and top-tier industry executives. But right in the middle of all those genuine congratulations, Lori Harvey allegedly decided that she also needed to reach out and inject herself into his moment of ultimate triumph. Pause the tape right there for a second. Lori, the exact same Lori who, after their very public breakup, allowed her entire camp to drop heavy hints that Michael was not mature enough or ready for what she brought to the table. The same Lori whose mother, Marjorie Harvey, went online and made incredibly shady comments about how Lori is young and needs to keep a man on her arm, who is actually newsworthy. Yes, that exact same Lori allegedly tried to slide right back into Michael's orbit to offer her congratulations. The narrative she wanted to build was likely one of two mature exes who still support each other, but Michael was absolutely not buying what she was selling. Reports claim that Michael did not even bother to type out a response, and his inner circle allegedly issued strict instructions to his security and management team to block her number entirely. The calls went completely unanswered, the messages were left on read, and baby, that silence said absolutely everything that needed to be said. It was a clear, loud message that the door is not just closed, it is completely welded shut. But let's talk about why Michael's silence is so incredibly loaded, and why the internet is losing its mind over it. This is not just a standard case of an ex-boyfriend being slightly awkward or petty after a relationship ends. No, there is a deep dramatic history here that makes this rejection a masterpiece of karma. If we look back at the aftermath of their breakup in June of 2022, Lori and her mother did not exactly take the high road. They did not just issue a standard, boring public relations statement saying they wished each other the best. Instead, there was a steady stream of negative implications about Michael's character, his personal preferences, and how he carried himself. There were things implied about him that, once they are out in the public ether, you simply cannot unsay or take back. Lori even had an incredibly telling reaction when her own father, Steve Harvey, was spotted having a completely friendly, normal and civil interaction with Michael B. Jordan at a high-profile basketball game. Steve Harvey, being a grown, professional man who understands how the industry works, was just being decent to a young man he once welcomed into his home. But according to internal reports, Lori was reportedly furious about it. Steve stayed totally neutral, stayed respectful, and honestly, good for him for not getting dragged into the pettiness. But the very fact that Lori allegedly had a massive issue with her own father simply being civil to her ex tells you everything you need to know about the negative energy she was carrying around. So when you fast forward to the current situation, and you see her allegedly trying to reach him multiple times through calls and messages, it becomes glaringly obvious why Michael wants absolutely nothing to do with her. And obviously, when these investigative findings and rumors hit the internet, the public reaction was completely brutal. The story spread like wildfire across social media platforms, and the reactions were not kind to Lori in the slightest. People started dragging her relentlessly, creating viral memes, and mocking her sudden change of heart. Now yes, there were a few hardcore fans who tried to defend her, claiming the narrative was being maliciously twisted by the media, and that she was being treated unfairly. But the overwhelming majority of the internet was pointing directly at the timeline and her past behavior, saying this is exactly what it looks like when you arrogantly fumble a top-tier partner and only realize what you lost once they are standing on top of the world without you. And to make matters even more devastating for her public image, deeper reports started coming out suggesting that Lori had been trying to contact Michael long before he even won his big award. This was not just a spontaneous, polite gesture of congratulations. This was reportedly a consistent, desperate pattern of behavior. It was a continuous effort to get his attention, to see if the spark was still there, and to see if she could still command his time. But Michael has consistently, repeatedly, and without a single exception, remained completely uninterested and completely unreachable. This is exactly where the power dynamic of this entire Hollywood circle gets flipped completely upside down. Immediately after their breakup, Lori came out of it looking like she held all the power and all the leverage. She moved on incredibly quickly. She was constantly photographed looking gorgeous on yachts, and she acted completely unbothered by the split. Meanwhile, various rumors were allowed to circulate about Michael's dating life and his personality, and Michael, to his absolute credit, stayed completely silent. He never clapped back, he never did an interview to clear his name, and he never addressed the shady social media posts. He just let the rumors sit there while he focused entirely on his craft. And you know exactly what happens when someone stays silent while rumors grow. The rumors temporarily become the accepted story, and for a while, Lori looked like the ultimate winner of the breakup. But then the tables started turning because Michael started winning quietly, consistently, and on a massive global scale. And suddenly, just like that, the power shifted completely. Lori went from looking like the unbothered IT girl to looking like someone who is actively chasing the very man she discarded. The indirect attacks, the shady quotes posted by her mother, and the dump him messages on Instagram suddenly aged terribly. Every single one of those past moves is now coming back to haunt her because Michael was out here stacking historic awards while she was allegedly sitting in her room dialing his block number. And that brings us directly to the real messy root of why Lori is suddenly looking backward, which we need to analyze deeply because the internal breakdown of their actual split reveals the exact moment she realized she made a massive mistake. The real messy root of why Lori is suddenly looking backward comes down to a harsh reality that she completely underestimated at the time of their split. The story going around deep Hollywood circles is that Michael B. Jordan wanted marriage, he was completely ready to settle down, and he was incredibly serious about building a permanent future with her. He saw her as his potential wife, a partner to grow with, and he wanted to establish a solid foundation that would last a lifetime. But Lori simply was not ready for that level of commitment and stability at that stage in her life. She wanted her absolute freedom, she wanted to live her life entirely on her own terms, and she wanted to focus on her personal brand, traveling the world and dating on her own timeline. They had completely different priorities and completely different timelines, which inevitably created a massive rift in what seemed like a picture-perfect relationship. Ultimately, she decided to end things, believing that she could easily find that same level of devotion and respect elsewhere whenever she finally decided she was ready for it. But people close to the situation, including individuals who have been in her inner circle for years, are now saying that Michael was genuinely her best relationship. He was the most stable, the most grounded, the most protective, and the most real partner she had ever experienced in her entire dating history. When you throw away something that pure and authentic for temporary freedom, the regret usually hits a lot later, and honey, it hits like an absolute freight train. It hits when you realize that the dating pool is filled with men who only want you for the clout, the aesthetic, and the social media engagement, rather than who you actually are as a person. And that realization is exactly what brings us right back to her current situation with Damson Idris, because the contrast between her past relationship and her current one is completely staggering. Reports are now trickling out suggesting that Damson never actually took this relationship nearly as seriously as it appeared to the public on social media. According to insider gossip, Damson allegedly came into the situation very casually, looking for a fun time, a mutual career boost, and a beautiful woman on his arm, but he was absolutely not looking for anything deep, spiritual, or long-term. The timeline of how they met tells the entire story if you actually sit down and look at the facts. They initially met at a massive party hosted by football star Odell Beckham Jr. back in November of 2022. If you do the math, that is just a mere 5 months after her highly publicized, dramatic breakup with Michael B. Jordan. 5 months is an incredibly fast turnaround time to heal from a relationship that was supposedly so serious and deep. Because of that rapid timeline, the heavy speculation in the industry has always been that this entire romance with Damson was nothing more than a classic rebound. People whispered that Damson was always just a placeholder, a tactical move to show the world, and specifically Michael, that she was still highly desirable and completely unbothered. Then, if you remember correctly, in late 2023, they experienced a very brief sudden split where they completely scrubbed each other from their respective social media accounts. During that specific split, the rumors started flying at an all-time high that Lori had already begun trying to desperately reach back out to Michael. The word on the street was that she was actively attempting to establish contact with her ex while things were rocky with Damson. Eventually, she and Damson got back together, put on a united front for the cameras, and tried to convince the public that everything was completely fine. But behind closed doors, the fundamental trust in that relationship was reportedly never the same again. Damson allegedly felt like he was constantly playing second fiddle to a ghost, constantly being compared to the shadow of Michael B. Jordan. And then came the ultimate public confirmation that things were deeply fractured. The major awards ceremonies. During one of the biggest, most important nights in all of Hollywood, an event where every major celebrity brings their significant other to flaunt their love on the red carpet, Damson arrived completely alone. He went to the events without her, walked the carpet solo, and did not bring her as his date. For someone who is supposed to be his high-profile, incredibly famous girlfriend, that solitary walk was a massive, undeniable statement to the entire industry. It was a public declaration that he was separating his brand from hers, and it signaled to everyone in the room that the relationship was effectively on life support. Now, the situation has degraded even further, because Damson is allegedly speaking about her in a highly negative light to his close associates and industry peers. Rumor has it that he has been telling people he knew exactly what her reputation was before he ever got involved with her. Essentially, his mindset was that he entered the relationship with incredibly low expectations, assuming it would just be a temporary, fun PR arrangement, and yet somehow he still managed to end up completely disappointed by her actions. He feels completely done dirty because her alleged attempts to slide back into Michael's life have made him look like a fool in front of his own industry colleagues. This brings us to a very fascinating psychological breakdown of the narrative that Harvey has spent years carefully building around herself. For the longest time, she was celebrated by a specific segment of the internet as the ultimate blueprint for modern dating. Women looked up to her because she seemed completely immune to the heartbreak and emotional manipulation that usually plagues celebrity romances. She was the one who allegedly collected high-profile men like trophies, enjoyed their company, and then discarded them the moment they no longer served her personal or professional growth. But the fatal flaw in building a brand based entirely on being cold, unbothered, and transactional is that it only works when you are moving upward. The minute you make a lateral move or a downward step, the entire illusion completely shatters, and the public turns on you with a vengeance. The narrative that is currently building around Lori across TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube commentary channels is that she is someone who exclusively chases extreme success, proximity to power, and ultimate status. People are openly accusing her of only being genuinely interested in a man when he is at the absolute peak of his career and cultural relevance. When the energy shifts, when the spotlight dims even a little bit, or when a man wants real, authentic vulnerability instead of a superficial lifestyle, the rumor is that she checked out. But now that Michael B. Jordan has achieved an elite level of status that very few actors ever reach, her sudden interest looks incredibly transparent and deeply desperate. It completely destroys the image of the independent woman who dictates her own destiny, replacing it with the image of an ex-girlfriend who realized too late that she traded a legendary partner for a series of temporary placeholders. Meanwhile, let us look at how Damson Idris is navigating his own career trajectory amidst this absolute circus of a public relations nightmare. Damson's star is actively rising in Hollywood. He is getting critical acclaim, securing major new roles, and establishing himself as a serious, dedicated dramatic actor. He clearly understands that aligning himself with a messy, regressive relationship drama could severely damage his professional momentum. He does not want to be known as the guy who got cheated on, or the guy whose girlfriend is actively yearning for an iconic ex-boyfriend while sitting next to him. The foundation of their relationship is reportedly crumbling into dust because Damson has too much pride to allow himself to be a secondary option or a tool used for jealousy. He is actively pulling back, separating his social circle from hers, and preparing to officially close this chapter of his life in a way that leaves his dignity completely intact. And as for Michael is sitting comfortably on an absolute throne of success, completely unbothered by the frantic energy coming from her camp. He is winning the biggest awards, securing the biggest directing deals, and living his absolute best life without uttering a single word about her. He understands that in the world of high-profile celebrity drama, absolute silence is the most lethal weapon you can possibly use against an attention-seeking ex. By refusing to acknowledge her existence, refusing to accept her calls, and ensuring his team keeps her completely blocked, he has delivered the ultimate, devastating blow to her ego. The woman who once thought she was the ultimate prize has been forced to realize that to Michael B. Jordan, she is nothing more than a distant, closed chapter that he has absolutely no intention of ever reading again. The absolute devastating blow to her ego has left Lori in a position she never thought she would find herself in. For years, she was the one who controlled the narrative, but now the public is watching her every move with a hypercritical lens. The internet has officially shifted from admiring her dating strategy to dissecting her apparent desperation, and the social media backlash is growing larger by the minute. Every single commentary channel, pop culture blog, and TikTok gossip account is currently having an absolute field day with this entire situation. People are pulling up old interviews of Lori and her mother Marjorie, contrasting their past arrogant statements with the current embarrassing reality. The overarching consensus across the entire digital landscape is that Lori completely played herself by trying to play a game with men who are simply too smart to be manipulated anymore. What makes this entire downfall so fascinating to watch is how quickly the elite Hollywood crowd has reportedly distanced themselves from the drama. Insiders are claiming that at recent exclusive industry after-parties, Lori's name has become synonymous with a cautionary tale about clout chasing. Major public relations experts are quietly advising their clients to avoid getting romantically entangled with her, arguing that her brand has become entirely too toxic and predictable. They see a clear, undeniable pattern where a man enters her orbit, gets used for an aesthetic social media run, and then gets discarded or publicly shaded the moment things end. But now that both Damson and Michael have effectively neutralized her power by refusing to play along with her games, that tactical dating blueprint is completely dead in the water. Let us dive deeper into the alleged financial and professional fallout that this massive public relations crisis is starting to cause for Lori's personal brand. Lori has built a massive business empire based on her image as the ultimate, untouchable fashion and beauty icon. She relies heavily on major corporate sponsorships, high-end luxury brand deals, and massive beauty collaborations to maintain her lavish, multi-million-dollar lifestyle. But major corporate brands are notoriously risk-averse, and they absolutely hate being associated with messy, regressive relationship drama that alienates large portions of the public. According to anonymous corporate insiders, several high-end fashion houses are currently reviewing their contracts with Lori because her public image has taken such a massive hit. The narrative that she is a desperate, calculating ex-girlfriend who publicly humiliates her current partner while chasing an elite superstar is not an image that luxury brands want representing their products. There are quiet whispers in the industry that a major upcoming beauty campaign she was supposed to headline has been suddenly put on indefinite hold. The executives behind the campaign are reportedly terrified of the massive public backlash and the thousands of negative comments that would flood their social media pages if they launched a project featuring her right now. Her team is allegedly scrambling behind the scenes, desperately trying to leak positive, distracting stories to the press to change the narrative, but the public simply is not buying it anymore. Meanwhile, let us talk about the absolute legal and contractual chaos that is reportedly brewing behind closed doors between Lori and Damson Idris. Because their relationship was so heavily tied to public appearances, joint brand deals, and mutual career advancement, separating their lives is not as simple as just unfollowing each other on Instagram. Insiders are whispering that there were actually complex, high-stakes non-disclosure agreements and mutual public relations contracts signed by both parties before they even made their romance public. Damson's legal and management team is reportedly reviewing those documents very carefully right now to see if Lori's alleged behavior constitutes a direct breach of contract. They are arguing that her continuous, desperate attempts to contact Michael B. Jordan while actively under a public relations agreement with Damson have directly damaged Damson's professional reputation and commercial value. If his team decides to take legal action or officially pull out of their remaining joint commitments, it could result in a massive financial crisis for Lori's camp. It would completely expose the transactional, manufactured nature of their romance, destroying whatever little credibility she has left with her remaining fanbase. Damson is reportedly being advised by his closest friends to completely cut all ties, face the temporary media storm, and protect his rising career at all costs. And while Lori's world is completely spinning out of control, Michael B. Jordan's circle is reportedly tighter, more secure, and more focused than it has ever been. Sources close to the iconic actor are stating that he genuinely finds the entire situation amusing, but completely irrelevant to his current life trajectory. He has reached a level of financial, artistic, and cultural freedom where he no longer needs to engage in petty internet back-and-forth arguments to validate his status. He is currently focused on producing massive new film franchises, directing critically acclaimed projects, and building a long-lasting Hollywood legacy that will completely overshadow any temporary relationship drama from his past. His team has reportedly made it an absolute, non-negotiable rule that any mention of Lori Harvey's name is completely banned during press interviews, production meetings, and creative sessions. He has erased her from his narrative so completely that it is almost as if the entire 2-year relationship never even occurred in the first place. This absolute erasure is the ultimate form of psychological defeat for someone like Lori, who thrives entirely on validation, attention, and knowing that she holds emotional power over her romantic partners. By refusing to give her even a single shred of acknowledgement, Michael has effectively stripped away her power, leaving her to face the harsh reality of her own choices. So where exactly does this leave the ultimate IT girl moving forward in a landscape that has completely turned against her? The public backlash is showing absolutely no signs of slowing down, and the investigative findings dropping every day are only making her look worse. She has officially lost the support of the general public, her current relationship is in absolute ruins, and the ex-boyfriend she reportedly desperately wants back has completely locked the door and thrown away the key. This entire situation is a powerful, undeniable lesson in the dangers of letting arrogance, clout-chasing, and short-sighted choices dictate how you treat high-value people in your life. You cannot treat genuine, dedicated love like a temporary accessory that you can just throw away and pick back up whenever it becomes convenient or trendy for your brand. The internet is going to continue to watch this massive fallout unfold, and honey, you can rest assured that every single mistake she makes next will be thoroughly analyzed by the world. Lori Harvey wanted to live her life entirely on her own terms without any rules or consequences, but she is finally learning that in the real world, the ultimate price always comes due. The crown has officially slipped from her head, the illusion of the untouchable prize is completely gone, and she is left standing entirely alone in the wreckage of her own making. So here is my final ultimate question for every single one of you watching this absolute drama unfold right now. Do you think Damson Idris is completely right to wash his hands of this entire situation and leave Lori behind in the dust? Or do you actually believe that this whole story is being wildly blown out of proportion by the Hollywood media? And honestly, let's be completely real for a second. Do you think Lori genuinely misses the man that Michael B. Jordan actually is? Or is she just desperately missing the historic success, the ultimate status, and the massive global attention that he now represents? Because honey, there is a truly massive difference between missing a person and missing the prestige of their shiny new Oscar trophy. I want you to drop your absolute rawest thoughts, your theories, and your unfiltered takes in the comments section below right now. Let me know exactly where you stand in this battle of the exes, because you already know I am reading every single response. And if you are somehow still not subscribed to the channel yet, what on earth are you actually doing with your life? Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and turn on your notifications immediately because we are clearly not done with this story. Stay tuned right here, because something tells me the next chapter of this Hollywood chaos is about to drop very soon.